Subscribe to Gizmo Times and get notified about our latest videos by hitting the bell icon.
Hey guys, welcome to Gizmo Times. This is Chetan and this is the quick comparison of the two very good smartphones in the mid-range pricing category. We already have a comparison of the Vivo Z1 Pro against the Realme 3 Pro, but there's one more phone that this phone is competing. That's the Xiaomi Redmi Note 7 Pro. This is one of those phones which people blindly recommend for the fact that it does everything so well in almost every aspect. Firstly, with the design, it is good, and then with the performance, always Xiaomi's phones are quite well done. And Redmi Note series particularly has been famous for its cameras. In the mid-range pricing category, most of us would usually recommend Xiaomi's Redmi Note series for its cameras, and that's the case here with the Redmi Note 7 Pro as well. So how good is that against the Vivo Z1 Pro, which is now officially launched with a triple rear camera combination and everything else that too is power packed? Let's check out in this comparison. If you're here for the first time, do subscribe and hit the bell icon for more videos. So starting with the design now, the Vivo Z1 Pro doesn't have a glass back, though it has that glossy finish and it has that gradient design which would project different colors when you're having it against the light. On the other side, there's a bit of a gradient on the Redmi Note 7 Pro as well, but it's not as similar to how the Vivo Z1 Pro shows it out, but it's a glass back. For someone who prefers to have a more premium body on the phone, it would be this one. But again, I didn't like the fact that it has that heavy camera pop out on the back. That pop out camera always, it's not a pop out actually, it's a camera bump there, and that bump always rocks the phone whenever you have it on a flat surface. It doesn't sit straight when you're using it. When you're trying to use it on a flat surface, it keeps rocking, and that is a major issue for me. And I always have that in that thing in the mind that the camera lens might get scratched, although it's a bit raised on the edges of it, but still it's always there. That skepticism should be there in the mind that the camera might get scratched a bit. But again, with the design, I would say that in a way, both are good at their own ways. The Vivo Z1 Pro is a bit bigger and hard to use with a single hand. Redmi Note 7 Pro is a bit more comfortable to use in the with a single hand. But someone who doesn't want to think about plastic or glass, I would go with the Redmi Note 7 Pro. Otherwise, if you want everything power packed, there's a huge battery in this, and there's also the larger screen. You might go with the Vivo Z1 Pro as well. The next one would be the display of it, where you see that it's a 6.53 inch on the Vivo Z1 Pro, 6.53 inch Full HD plus resolution display. On the other side, it's the 6.3 inch display on the Xiaomi Redmi Note 7 Pro, and both have the same resolution, 1080 to 2380 pixels. So no difference that way. It's almost the same, but the pixel density obviously will be higher on this because of the smaller screen size, not higher by a large percentage. So it's just a bit of a difference. But there's a protection of Corning Gorilla Glass 5 on the Redmi Note 7 Pro. We aren't told about the protection on the Vivo Z1 Pro on the other hand. And the media consumption, I would say that again, both are IPS LCD displays, so there's not a lot of difference there, though this seemed a bit more cooler on the color side of it, and this was a bit more warmer, the Redmi Note 7 Pro. The power is the next thing that we're going to talk about. The powers that these phones get, it's the Snapdragon 712 on the Vivo Z1 Pro, and that compared to the Snapdragon 675 on the Xiaomi Redmi Note 7 Pro is certainly a bit better. A better manufacturing process, better clock speeds, and also with the gaming performance. In a way, it was almost the same, but obviously we saw a better response on games like PUBG Mobile. On the smooth and ultra option, we saw that the Vivo Z1 Pro obviously did much better than the Redmi Note 7 Pro on the same graphic settings. We aren't talking about the HD and those graphics. We are talking about usually what would players play with. We choose to play smooth graphics option because of the fact that it would make your gameplay smoother, though the graphic level won't be the same, but always a smoother gameplay is better than higher graphics one. So that is where we felt that the Vivo Z1 Pro was actually doing much better than the Redmi Note 7 Pro. But again, with the heating, I would say that it's almost the same. No phones were heating up more than like 41 degrees. So even the Redmi Note 7 Pro has quite a good experience with the gameplay. There's no difference in that aspect. Now with the day-to-day usage, again, MIUI always does its own good optimization of the UI so that there's no experience hampered there. And on the other side, FunTouchOS isn't bad either. For someone who isn't into custom OS, who doesn't like any of these interfaces, you'll have to adjust to it because these are the custom interfaces. And at least with the Redmi Note 7 Pro, there are quite a lot of ROMs that you already have available, and you can choose one of them and install if you have the knowledge of what you're doing. On the other side, you'll be stuck with the FunTouchOS, but I would say that these interfaces are never bad. They have their own set of good features, their own set of additions in the set of settings. You see things like GameCube, the app clone, and S capture, one-handed mode, smart split, smart mirroring. So there's more than that as well. So these things are something you need to get used to and understand, and then you can make your user experience better. Both are based on Android 9 Pie. It's MIUI versus FunTouchOS, so it's always user's preference there. Next, moving on to that important aspect that might make a big difference between these two phones. It's the cameras setup that is given there. The Redmi Note 7 Pro has that famous Sony IMX586 sensor, the 48 megapixel sensor on its back. It's no interpolation, it's actually a 48 megapixel sensor which does 48 MP captures as well. And the Redmi Note 7 Pro are one of the favorites when it comes to the camera department in the mid-range category. And there's also a 5 megapixel depth sensor along with it. On the other side, the Vivo Z1 Pro has a triple lens camera combination with a 16 megapixel f1.8 camera. That's the primary one. Then there's an 8 megapixel wide angle camera, which is something that makes it stand out in the entire range of phones except for the Honor 20i, which also has a wide angle camera. So the need of the hour right now would be something unique and different. So a wide angle camera in a mid-range pricing is certainly a very good addition. There's also a third camera, that's a 2 megapixel one, which is for the depth sensing. So obviously both the phones have a depth sensor, but for the regular captures, we haven't really tested it out already, so you'll have to check out our camera comparison that will come out soon, and you can see which one does better captures. But for now, I would say that I would usually trust the 48 MP captures on the Sony IMX586 because of the fact that we have seen so much from that sensor already in the market. And on the other side, the wide angle edition on the Vivo Z1 Pro is quite a good one. On the front, something that we missed while we talked about the display was that in-display camera on the Vivo Z1 Pro. That punch hole camera on the left side with a 32 megapixel sensor is something that you should be actually looking out for. And in comparison to that, there's a 13 megapixel camera for selfies on the Redmi Note 7 Pro. Again, with the portraits, they have both been doing quite well, but Vivo Z1 Pro has some additional features on the camera application to make your selfie experience better, and it's a higher resolution camera, 32 megapixel, so that is where I'd say that the selfie camera should be better on the Vivo Z1 Pro. Next, with the battery life on Redmi Note series is always good, gives a bit of over 6 hours of screen on time on average. And on the other side, the Vivo Z1 Pro this time should easily claim it over this phone because it's a 5000 mAh battery. We have done quite a lot of tests. We have been using it as a primary phone and easily got over 9 hours of screen on time on average. So almost like a 1.5 times of battery life when compared to this one. And that might be thanks to the optimization done on the FunTouch UI, along with that Snapdragon 712 doing its own job of making the battery life better. So here I'd say that the battery life is much better on this one. Although again, with the charging speeds, both have the same speed that is supported. It's quick charge over the dual engine fast charge, and it's 18 watt support on both of them, though it might take lesser time on this one because it's a 4000 mAh battery to charge itself. It's a 5000 mAh one. It will take more time to charge itself, but you know that obviously with the battery life being better, the number of times you need to charge your phone is also lesser on the Vivo Z1 Pro. And with the other things that you might think as an important one, first is the USB connectivity here. It's USB Type-C on the Xiaomi Redmi Note 7 Pro. It's still micro USB on the Vivo Z1 Pro. Both the phones have the headphone jack, and also along with that there's a hybrid SIM slot on both of them. There is no dedicated microSD card on both the slots, and there's that assistant button. That's a dedicated Jovi assistant button on the Vivo Z1 Pro if someone wants to use that extra assistant always for some functionalities. So this was the quick comparison of the Xiaomi Redmi Note 7 Pro and the Vivo Z1 Pro. If you have any other questions about this, do let me know and subscribe to Gizmo Times for more. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.